Hey guys, I am freaking pumped about this video, and I also have another one of these, except for instead of the 5 worst horror movies on Netflix, I'm going to do the most underrated ones. So if you like this video and you want to see that, give it a thumbs up. But we all know I've been doing more movie content on here because I was really trying to brainstorm, not only for Vlogmas, but just for this channel in general, like how do you freshen up a vlog channel? And I just want to put more of what I am interested in. And girl, I love horror movies. I am that person where I sit alone in the dark and I watch horror movies, and I've been doing it literally every night this week and last week to prepare for this video and for the next video if you guys like it. So I have gone through and watched pretty much nearly every movie that is classified as horror in the Canadian Netflix, and I need new suggestions, please. If you have any, I would really appreciate it. But today we're going to talk about the 5 worst horror movies that I have seen on Netflix. I will do the little disclaimer that this is my opinion. If you like these movies, that's fine. We're allowed to have different opinions. And I've said this before, I think it comes down to what you like out of a horror movie. If you like open-ended endings, you might have a different opinion. If you like really artistic films, you might have a different opinion. If you like really indie movies that are kind of all over the place, you might have a different opinion. But these are my 5 worst horror movies that I have seen recently on Netflix. Okay, the first one is The Wildling.
I'm the one who found you. You're gonna be with me until we identify any relatives that you might have.
She's the girl that was kept in her father's attic.
Can we close it? The Wildling.
Whoever did this wants to slow down her maturity.
Men from the town said they got every last one. But that isn't quite true, is it?
You're the last one left.
This was a 2018 thriller, and it had some big names. Liv Tyler was in it. She was, of course, in the Lord of the Rings movies, and I don't even know how to describe this movie. This girl was held by her captor, who she called Daddy, which truly the greatest name for a captor. And as she hit puberty, he left her to die. And slowly her body and her life starts to change. This was rated 5.5 on IMDb, and it didn't even make back its $2 million budget at the box office, which is not surprising because it's just not a great movie. It just wasn't super entertaining. It just wasn't scary. It wasn't something that had me at the edge of my seat. There was kind of a twist, but it was also kind of a twist where I was like, I don't care. Like, if this is something that you're interested in, kind of like body coming to age changes sort of thing, you might like it. This is definitely, I would say, the one on the list that I would say if you're gonna watch any of these, check this one out. But it just was really, really boring. There was kind of a climax, but it was still a really boring climax. It wasn't scary. It wasn't like, I don't know. It just wasn't great. The acting was fine, but the storyline itself just felt a little bit muddled. It felt just really kind of like a dreary story where they were just kind of trying to find something that was new to the point of making something that was dull. The next one is Family Blood.
My name's Sally and I'm an addict. I want you to leave me alone.
It's too late.
This was a 2018 horror. It has a 4.2 on IMDb, and essentially a woman who is trying to kick her drug addiction, trying to live that sober life, moves to a new city with her 2 kids, and she meets this guy who changes everything. I don't even know how to talk about this without spoiling, like, the main thing, which then basically spoils everything in it. So let me just say this. It feels like a movie that's shot by a film student who's in their first year, and they think that this is really edgy. And I was on my phone so much through this movie because I was so bored. I kept checking how much time was left in this movie because the acting was poor, the storyline was really boring, the effects were really boring. Like, it wasn't believable. This is a story that, yeah, I mean, it could be entertaining. It's a little campy. but it could be done well if it's done right, and this was just not done correctly. I am the pretty thing that lives in the house.
My name is Lily. I'm going to be staying with you from now on. I am 28 years old. I will never be 29. The pretty thing you are looking at is me. A terrible book. The woman who wrote it all down.
This one got a 4.5 on IMDb. It was a 2016 thriller horror movie. And this one, this movie to me just proves that just because something is artistic and really beautifully shot doesn't make it any less boring to watch. This movie was so slow. And sometimes that's good. Sometimes a slow burn, if you get to a really good ending or to a really good resolution, or if the characters are really richly built upon, it can be fine. But this one wasn't. It Follows, to me, was a really good kind of slow burn where enough stuff happened to keep you interested, but it wasn't too dramatic all at once, and it led up to a really good finale. This one, she's in this house carrying, I should tell you what the movie's about. This woman lives in this house as a caregiver for this aging author, and she literally doesn't leave the house for like a year. Like, she's there caring for this woman for a year and like nothing happens. And then all of a sudden it's just like, is there a ghost in this house? What's happening? Am I hallucinating? Is it the mold in the walls? Like, it's just the build up to the finale, the final scene, is just so dull. Like, it's beautifully shot. This is definitely the one out of all of these movies that you could tell that there was a crew that really cared about the story, that really cared about having this look visually appealing, and it really did. All of the shots really were what held my interest because the story certainly didn't, but it was just so pretty. The outfits were so cool, the shots of like her in the kitchen, the lighting was beautiful, the sound design was great, but the story itself, I literally fast forwarded through a couple parts because I was like, I don't care what you're doing right now. Like, you're sitting there, like you're just, there's so many scenes of her just standing around. Like, she's just standing there or she's sitting there and nothing is happening. Just don't have very high expectations because very little happens in this movie. This is one that's on everybody's list. 13 Cameras.
There's two of us. Then you have to kill him.
This came out in 2015. It was a drama horror, and it has 5.1 on IMDb. It's so bad. Like, the acting is so bad. It's so bad. I will say, at the very least, this story for me was the most interesting. This story was one that kind of held my interest. The acting was poor. It was shot, obviously, in a way that was very, like, low quality because it was called 13 Cameras. So this guy basically rents out this house in a very secluded area, and he has all of these webcams set up, and then he basically, he airs it to the dark web so people can spy on these families or these couples when they don't know about it, and people can end up, like, you know, obviously jerking off to it, sending him money to send him, like, you know, items of the families, and it's just, it's a really cool concept. The main villain, I don't understand how he hasn't been killed yet, because he limps around like he is literally the weakest bitch ever. And then there's this weird side story about captives that he has, and he's like, he looks so weak and small. Like, he's a big man, but he looks so small and old and tired, and it's like, dude, just kick him. Just kick him and run away. And oh my god, the most frustrating scene in this movie is that you don't do the double tap. This is a thing in Zombieland for a reason. Like, if you think that you've killed somebody or knocked them out, do it again. Just because, oh my god, this is the main rule in horror movies. They're gonna be back up and chasing you, and that's what happens. And then the bitch dies. People in this movie are so fucking stupid that they deserve to be killed. Like, that's, like, you don't root for anyone because you're like, oh my god, you're dumb. Oh my god, you've made the poorest decision. Oh my god, like, you don't root for anybody because everyone's so stupid. But this is the movie that's apparently gotten me the most riled up, and I guess maybe watch this one or Wildling if you're gonna watch, like, a bad horror movie, because I totally get wanting to watch a bad horror movie, but it's not like a super satisfying movie. It's not something that you're sitting there and you're watching it and you're like, wow, the quality is amazing, or like, the storyline is great, everything makes sense, or the characters are really smart. Like, it's a movie that has an interesting enough story, and everything else is just kind of like, eh. And then the last one, and I gotta say, this is the worst one. This is The Basement.
Something has happened to my husband. He went to the store, but he never came home.
How difficult would it be to knock out a tooth? Untie me right now!
This came out in 2017. It has a 5.2 rating, which is, it's way too high. This is the only one that I looked at the rating and I was like, no! Like, I was expecting like a 3.7 maybe. It's so bad. This one has Misha Barton in it, which proves that life is not so sweet after you leave a network television show like The OC. And it's so, like, I watched The OC. I loved The OC. I know that Misha Barton can act, but she cannot act in this one. No one can act in this one. The fact, okay, let me stop and tell you kind of what this movie is about. There's this couple and this guy leaves after sex with his wife to go and get her champagne from the local corner store, because why? Why would you go to a gas station to get champagne for your wife? I don't understand. And then he gets kidnapped by this serial killer who's been on the loose, the Gemini killer. Then he's trapped in this basement, and it goes back and forth for an hour between this guy getting tortured by this guy who has like 13 different personalities, and his wife who's at home with her friend being like, where is he? Why do you have his number in your phone? It's so bad. This movie, I fast forwarded through again. And I know that you might be sitting there and like, well, how can you properly report on a movie if you fast forwarded through half of it? I couldn't do it. I was not willing to give this movie an hour and a half of my life. I just wasn't willing to do it because it was so bad. The acting was fucking garbage, okay? It was trash. The shots, trash. This one felt not even like a film student movie. It felt like something that I would make in like high school for like, you know, a film project for a class and be like, there you go, I worked on it for 2 hours, enjoy. I think they pulled a lot of inspiration from Saw when it came to the gore scenes because he was tortured a lot in this basement, but it was just so poorly executed. Like, I feel like they did a couple of shots of different scenes and the actors just really fumbled through it, and then the director was like, and that's good enough, let's go home. Like I said, this could have been a really cool story. This guy gets kidnapped by a serial killer, his wife's at home, she's trying to find him, she's really worried, and he's in this basement just getting tortured and beaten down to a shell of a person and trying to use these people's personalities against him. It's obviously very closely related to, oh my god, what is it called? Split. Obviously pulled also a lot of inspiration from Split. There was one scene that was kind of cool, and it was the final scene with the husband. That was kind of cool, that shot. But the way that they wrapped this story up was the dumbest thing I have ever seen in my freaking, like, it was so stupid. And if you're not gonna watch any movie on this list, don't watch this one, because it was just fucking dog shit. And that concludes my 5 worst horror movies on Netflix. And like I've said, I've watched most of the movies on Netflix in the horror category, but I obviously haven't seen them all. So if you like this video and you want another one, or if you want another one from a different genre, I really also like action movies, some rom-coms. I mean, most rom-coms are really, really garbage. So I could definitely do another garbage video on rom-coms, but whatever. Let me know what you guys want to see. Let me know what your worst horror movies on Netflix or otherwise are, because I would love to watch some more trashy movies. Sometimes you're just in the mood for a shitty movie, you know? So if you're in the mood for a shitty movie out of this list, I would say 13 Cameras or The Wildling, and really don't watch any of the other ones. Unless you want a really artistic movie, then I'm the pretty thing that lives in the house, but otherwise, I'd say just skip it. That is it. I love you so much. Leave your comments down below. Thumbs up if you like this and you want to see the best, most underrated movies on Netflix, and I will see you very soon. Bye, guys.